abductions, okay, right? People being taken against their will, experimented with, traumatized, terrorized, and dropped off somewhere. You know, it's true. It has happened. But only to people who did that to somebody else, usually in Atlantis. And there has not been many other times since then that that type of specific karma could be returned to them. So, doesn't it? It sure does, yeah. And that's why you know, probably no one here has to worry about that. You know, I don't pick it up here. I don't think anybody's, but that was the case, you know. And I only bring it up because of the term of experiment, okay? In your case, you were a holy experiment that two of the masters, and one of them is the Lord Kuthumi, were experimenting with the soul splitting in two and that kind of a thing. And they did it with very special help, by the way. This is not a common thing. It's a very special experiment. And they wanted to have fraternal twins, but what they found, and that's why they didn't continue, was that though it could be done, the two twins were almost useless without each other, because it was like your right hand and your left hand, you know, you're like that. So it was a very interesting lifetime, I would imagine, for you.
When was this? Do you have a sense of
Let me see. I know it was at least over 600 years ago. I know that much, because I'm back about in the Middle Ages or something like that. It was done in very special conditions. It was in Europe. It was done in what would be Germany today, in Bavaria, the southern part, in a castle situation. Very wealthy parents, like Duke so-and-so, you know, royalty, if you will. And they had these kids, the twins, and that was you. You were the twins. So, yeah, how interesting. And this is kind of sad.
Go ahead.
Okay, you can take it. Okay. Well, when the experiment was over, and it was time to go home, you both of you just they found you in the morning, lying together, embracing, and gone. You know, very interesting, very, very interesting. Yeah, yeah. And one of the reasons why the experiment was ended was because there was certain people who were afraid of you and thought you were evil, and that it was the devil's work and this kind of thing. You know, it was not natural and kind of thing. So they were going to start raising some kind of a weird thing and probably try and get you burned to the stake or God knows what, you know. And so to avoid that, you just, we've seen enough. You just kind of checked out. Very, yeah, it wasn't long. I think you only lived to about 22. 22 years. So, interesting. I've never heard of this before. In all my years, all my born days, never heard of it.
Well, I almost didn't say the first name, and I thought, well, the first name was John that came to me, but then the other one was so clear, and I thought I'd have to tell you that I heard both of them, and I just threw it out.
And that's why. Because it was. Okay, what's your name?
Ariel.
What is it? Ariel? Okay. Okay. Of King Arthur's court, I would say. Avalon, someone mentioned earlier. Interesting. You were trained in the craft, but you had to leave because Morgane wanted you, and you did not want Morgane. That was King Arthur's sister, Morgana Le Fay, they called her. And you literally had to use magical arts to get away because she could track you. She was a very sly woman, to say the least. And sly enough to trick Arthur into impregnating her, which he wouldn't have done ordinarily. But she tricked him. She cast a glamour so he thought she was someone else, so that she wanted his seed so she could have his son, which in fact she did, and had Mordred. Not a good person. He came from dark regions. But anyway, you were then courted by one of the knights. I'm not supposed to say which one. And you married him, and you were quite welcome at the court. Quite welcome, yeah. At the court, of King Arthur. And you have incarnated with him since then, since he came back when he was Sir Thomas More. Makes sense? A man for all seasons, remember? And there he is, wearing the golden turban with the blue robe. Don't. No, El Moria. El Moria, the Master Moria. Yeah, he's that one right there. So that's your story.
I just wanted to say, a couple days ago, I was talking to a friend who collects all these books, and I said to him, do you have Mist of Avalon? And, Friday night, she gave me the book.
You would ask for that.
You'll enjoy it, yeah. I love it. Thank you.
What's your name?
Enrique.
Enrique. Oh, interesting life. Well, they all are, aren't they? You've heard the phrase, the power behind the throne. You ever heard that? It means like there's the king or queen, and then there's someone behind them who actually tells them things, or yeah. Well, you were the power behind the throne. Behind a very famous throne, that of Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain, the ones who sponsored Columbus to go on his route. And you were a prophet or something. You were a clairvoyant. You were someone that advised them, but they weren't about to talk to anybody about you, because of course that wouldn't have worked, right? Because we're talking, church, very Catholic. Ooh, yeah. And so of course they couldn't say anything about you, but you were there.
So it was like my idea to send the crusade or something?
That, no, it wasn't. That particular one, no. Apparently not, no. In fact, you advised against it because of certain things. But you did advise on other things. You did help them do certain other things that caused their wealth to grow. Because Columbus went on several missions, not just one. He's known for the so-called discovery of America. How can you discover something where people are already living there?
Right.
That's the thing. So, he claimed it, And so you were the one who was the visionary behind those two. So you might consider maybe check them out. I don't know much about them other than what I'm being given right now on the spot,
Who was the king that you said?
Ferdinand, and her name is Isabella. Yeah. The ones that sponsored Christopher Columbus.
There would be records of this person in the...
No.
Oh,
Nope. No way. No, are you kidding? Nobody even knew about you when you were alive, much less. No, they weren't, because they weren't, again, they couldn't do that. But I think you were actually, I think you might have been a nephew or something. I think you're actually in the family too. But just so therefore it was totally natural that you would come and go, at court, but no one knew what you really did, and that was it. You'd been, I think, a seer since a little boy. You used to see things, and so.
You're saying I would come and go from Spain?
Well, from the court. Yeah. No, I think you lived in Spain most of your life.
Oh, okay.
You might have traveled somewhere, I don't know, but Meaning you were welcome to come and go. So there was no suspicion.
Oh, okay.
What are you doing there? Why do you go in the back room with him?
Oh,
You know, because you're a relative or something. I think you're a nephew. Something like that.
oh.
But you were the seer for them too. Little known facts of history. Okay. What's your name?
Right now, when you said that, I heard Faye, but then before I heard Dieter and Marvin.
Okay, which one you want to pick? Pick one. Pick a name, any name. Faye? Faye? Hello? Faye? Is it? Okay, it's up to you now. It's up to you. It's like the road not taken. Just think. Just think you won't hear about the other life. Look at him. God, see? What the hell? Okay, pick a name.
Actually, one of them was wasn't really Faye, more like a thought or something.
Okay. Yeah, because, we have to remember that there's names that we've never heard that are from other countries, other languages, like that. Okay, let's see if I can get on that one. Hold on. We're going for the Middle East. What would have been called Persia? Oh, this is interesting. Interesting because it's right after his life, and you also were a seeress. You also were, you know what it was? You contributed quite a bit to what would be called Chaldean astrology. But you yourself were not an astrologer. You were a seeress. You were someone that had visions and things. And I'm seeing you with a veil over your, like this, And, so you often were veiled. But you worked with the astrologers, 2 or 3 of them that were, the top ones of the court of the Shah of Persia, or whoever it was. It was Persia. And you would have, like, dreams in which you would see things, like with the planets and what they meant. So they would sit there and listen and write down what you said, and then they would build what they knew from what they knew and add on to it based on what you said. You would often tell them what was going to happen before it would happen and things of that nature, and it was purely astrological. You give them a lot of data from what the planets were doing, where they were coming, for everything. You did that, which was interesting because, again, it's similar here. If any of you two just happened to be sitting next to each other, because the same thing, they didn't want anyone to know, because number one, you were a woman, and that wasn't supposed to happen, and also because it kind of stole their thunder a bit. See what I'm saying? Because here, this woman's telling them everything that they should know or whatever, and so they just kept a real hush hush. So you also were kind of an advisor behind the scenes. You weren't allowed to come up, but you did, right before you died, apparently. You did foretell the fact that you would be reborn, and some of them in those days believed in that, and some did not. So it made you controversial on top of everything else. And you said you'd be reborn, and you said exactly when. And the weird thing is that this is strange. I don't know why this would be, but it was about, I think, 12 years later. This like lore had grown up around you, in small circles, and they didn't want you to be born. So they went to the place that you said you were going to be born at the time, and they tried to kill you, or your mother anyway. And of course, you saw that, and you weren't there. So you guided your mother to leave. So when they went searching for you, they didn't find you. Kind of reminiscent of when they went to kill those little babies trying to kill Jesus. Kind of sad. They didn't, thank God, kill anybody else that I know of, but they looked for you because they knew who they were looking for, and you weren't there. So you outwitted them. And then you ended up foretelling things in the next life that brought them down. So you got the last laugh. Okay, that'll show them, huh? What's your name? Cleopatra. Wow. Okay. The name was given to you in hopes that the spirit of the Egyptian queen would come into you. You were trained as a temple medium, and your birth was very carefully planned out, and you came into that life, that birth, with no memory veil. You remembered everything from before, which was not as easy or fun or good as it might sound, by the way, for reasons I can somewhat understand. And you were not a real happy camper, actually, because, you know, as a little girl, you could remember all kinds of things, including people who you saw and what they did before. They didn't like that. You know, so you kind of blew the whistle a lot of people, and you weren't real popular because of that. But you, it was like at 18 or something, there was indeed a high frequency spirit. I do not know if it was in fact the Egyptian queen Cleopatra. There was more than one Cleopatra, by the way, who actually inhabited your body, but you saw her coming, and she told you she would come into your body like a medium, you know, that kind of thing, and you'd be her oracle, basically. There were times she would come to do, and so in that sense, the thing was fulfilled, the prophecy or whatever they were trying to do, that did happen. But they thought she would permanently take over your body, like walk-in style, and she didn't. So you had to stay in the body, you know, instead of just leaving. But toward the end, she did stay in, but had so learned to mimic you, reverse interesting thing, huh? That, because she wanted to stay in and you did want out. So she said, well, let's do it and not tell anybody. So then she came in and did in fact stay there because she wanted to experience life as kind of more of a commoner too, and have experiences that she never could have had as a queen. So the point is that, you know, you agreed to that because you were kind of at that point, sounds like a weird word, but you were like retired from your oracle job. I've had enough of this. It was a walk-in. It was a walk-in at the end, but you see, they wanted it earlier. See, there was these people, these priests and priesthood, they were trying to control it. And that was the lesson, is no, you don't control us, we control you, if anything. That was the deal right there, see. So that's what you taught them. Let's get your priorities straight. Okay. What's your name? Sarah? Okay, okay. Ooh, boy, this one goes way back. I'm back in time here. Biblical. Old Testament. I am not supposed to talk about it, but I do believe you might want to look into the Old Testament. Go see what Sarah you can find. See what you may know about her, or what's there, okay? I'm not supposed to go into it. Okay? She goes, oh, shucks, how come? Huh? Can you pick another one out of the hat? No. Sorry, Don. When you brought me the nice basket, huh? But, no, I mean, there's good reasons for it. Okay, really, nothing's wrong. Don't worry. I mean, and I don't know, by the way, I mean, the name rings a bell, but I don't really know much about this Sarah. So, you know, but there's something valuable about you looking for it and reading it. That's the point. Okay. Okay, so sorry, got some homework. Okay. What's your name?
A couple came, but one keeps coming back. Joseph.
Joseph. Okay, let me see. Uncle of the father of Jesus, for whom he was named, on that side of the family, therefore related to the elder brother himself. A very, very devout man, very learned in the scriptures, and one who knew through revelation that the elder brother was going to be born to that family, and had told Joseph the same. And Joseph, the father, found it hard to accept, kind of didn't want to accept it. It was like too much responsibility or something like that. And you used to joke with him and say, I would gladly take your place. But he'd say, yeah, that doesn't help me any, and of course you couldn't. But you did live to see the elder brother. And that's all you wanted, and you did, apparently. But the interesting thing is, you took incarnation right away, right after that. You went out and you turned right around and came right back in. It was like going out the door, turned around and came right back. You took a very short break because you wanted to be in flesh when the elder brother was. And you were. And of that life, I cannot speak right now. Okay? Okay. Who are you?
The name that just keeps coming is Varian.
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 Interesting. Okay, I never heard the name. My attention is going to what's called the Dead Sea, which is a Salton Sea. And there is an Essene community there, and you are connected with it. In fact, you're one of the teachers there. And the Essenes were would you please take the water? Thanks. Yeah, for just a block of ice. The Essenes were a secret society kind of a thing, mystery school type thing, of which John the Baptist was one. The elder brother somewhat, but he didn't really study there the way John did. And you knew that special preparation had to be made for John's education, because of the nature of his role. So you prepared that. And it was so interesting, though, when I'm looking at this. But what's kind of strange is that I keep looking at you as you were, and I'm sitting here going, is this a man or is this a woman? A really interesting life, because you were like incredibly androgynous, I guess would be the word. You were like almost both in the same body. It's very interesting. One body, though. One body. In your case. Oh, I see. That's exactly what you were. Both sides of your nature incarnated at the same time. Perfectly balanced soul. And it was interesting because some days when you would teach and sound and be and act just like a woman because you were. It was the feminine side of you. Other than to be like a man. You could flip back and forth however you wanted. It was up to you. Interesting. No wonder I couldn't tell the difference. Well, what is it anyway? Oh, I see. I noticed that Sir Arthur touched on this when he talked, didn't he? Remember he mentioned something about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, not necessarily today, but you can. But at some point, it is suggested that you take this technique that we're doing today of the past life regression and seek to know what you can know about that life. What's your name?
Elizabeth.
This is a recent life. You were a writer. I believe your husband was as well. English, I think. I believe. That's all. That's all I can tell you. You'll get more information on that later on, though, okay? I'll leave it at that. What's your name?
John.
John. Okay, hold on. Time of the Master Jesus. Have you been told about a life before when the Master Jesus was around? Do you remember anything like that?
Only Sir Arthur said that I was there, but didn't say what.
Oh, because they just told me, they said, she's been told about this, but maybe they didn't say in what detail, though.
Yeah, no.
No, okay, because apparently, so you were told. That's just what they said. Yeah, you were. Okay, I guess I'll give you the details now, apparently, if they're going to be given to me. Young boy at the time. Oh, how interesting. You experienced the bilocation of the elder brother, meaning that you had visits with him. You were a shepherd, and he had literally walked across the field to where you were and talked to you, and just you. In fact, you knew him kind of well. And then later there was a huge crowd at a distance moving across the plain, and you went, I wonder who that is. And then you noticed they were coming toward you, and you said, oh, it's my friend, but why are all these people with him? And as they approached, one of the number walked ahead, ran ahead and said, can we milk a ewe? Can we have milk from the sheep for the rabbi? And you said, of course. You said, he knows he can have it. I've given it to him before. And then he said, oh no. He goes, you don't understand, because this is a very special man. He's never been by here. You said, of course he has. I've seen him many times. And then he said, he kind of like looked at you and he said, you're dreaming, kid. It was that type of but in Aramaic. And you thought, and then you kind of felt bad because you thought, is he not telling him that he knows me? Is he ashamed to know me? Because you didn't know what to think, right? This man obviously walked right up to him and was talking to him, so obviously he knew him, right? And these people were all gathered around him. And suddenly he turned and he walked right over to you and he hugged you, and he said something along the lines of, didn't you think I'd come back and see you or something like that? And he said, no, I figured you would. And then everybody was kind of like, you know, what's this? You know, you're acting like you know each other. And then he made a gesture to you to please don't say anything, because he didn't want it to be known. What had happened is he had been elsewhere, but he had also been with you on various occasions. Okay? Because he had had some past life connection with you from yet a previous time. See what I'm saying? So but he didn't want that known, because it was, you know, it would just add to the hoopla that was already going on around him. And he always wanted to downplay that. The so-called miracles he did, he did them whenever possible, not with people there. He did not want to draw the attention, but at one point there was no way around it. You know, it just happened. So but at least you were gratified because you realized. At first you thought, oh, is he not wanting to know me? You know, and then he just said that, and then as they were walking away, he turned and he stopped and he drew everyone's attention to you, and he said, behold, he said, he who was once a king of Israel, now a shepherd. He goes, now that is progress. And then he walked away. And as such, he identified you as a previous king of Israel. But he didn't say who. And neither will I.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we're going to take a very short break because I'm going to get the water and all that together. And then when we come back in about like 10 minutes, I say, we're going to do another session, okay? Okay. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Breathe deeply. And don't forget that you will stay awake. You will all stay awake. You will stay very, very awake.
Took 2 cups of coffee just to make sure.
Good. You will all stay awake because you want to stay awake. Because if you do not stay awake, you will miss the show. So you want to see the show, and it's your show, and it's about you. So begin to breathe. Breathe, breathe. You need more oxygen in your temples. Breathe deeply, please, and begin to experience yourself as he or she who is the reincarnating entity. Your body doesn't reincarnate, but you do. So you need to think in terms of that. You are the reincarnating one. Your physical body is not. Just like a car you could have, and you know, it has its uses, its span of years or whatever, and then it goes away. But you remain. You are the one who reincarnates. You are the one who has reincarnated. You are the one who may reincarnate again. Chances are you will, except for I hear 1 or 2 exceptions. So that's where you want to put your attention, if you would, as the one who reincarnates. Just, we're going to go at it slightly different this time, because I want to show you different techniques for achieving the same goal. So, as the reincarnating entity or being, you are the one who has the great gold mine of experience that you've gathered from all of your lives. You take it with you. You don't have to remember the lives, but you do take the benefits of each life, and you slough off the rest. We have all made many, 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 many mistakes and miscalculations in our lives, because that's how we learn. Meant to be that way. Trial and error. They tell us life is like a big laboratory, and if you don't break some test tubes, you don't learn anything. So we all have broken many test tubes. I would like you, even without particularly thinking about any one particular life or any particular so-called mistake or whatever, just have a feeling of forgiving yourself, please, for every miscalculation, every mistake, everything you've ever done that you later felt was not the thing to do, but you did it anyway. Forgive yourself, please. Let yourself off the hook. There's no reason to hold these things against yourself. That's just misunderstanding of the process of life. And we are trying to get into understanding the process of life correctly. So Without even, and if you may come up with a specific thing or two, fine. If so, fine. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're more just trying to get to the point of self-forgiveness of all lives. That way you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, because there's so many. Just make it a wholesale amnesty for yourself. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Forgive yourself and forgive others as well. Forgive everybody who's ever given you a hard time, hurt you, harmed you, gone against you. Each one has been your teacher. All of us have great need for self-forgiveness and forgiving others. All of us have made many mistakes, but we've learned a lot from each one. That's the point. That's the point. Okay. Now, dear hearts, let's get more specific. Let us focus now, by an act of your will and your intention, upon the place you were before, called the Garden of Memory. Go to that place, that dimension, wherein you will find yourself surrounded by a lot of beauty and a wonderful sense of peace and a beautiful sense of power of the soul. And it's the power to remember. You will remember. You will stay awake. You will yourself into the Garden of Memory now, where you can see beauty around you. See that beauty. It reflects your own beauty. However beautiful you can imagine it, visualize it, is a reflection of your own inner beauty. And stay awake. And I am going to, at this time, take you on a little bit of a world tour. I will either make a sound or say a word or do something that will suggest either a time frame or a culture or a country. And all I ask you to do is to see if you have any sense of belonging. Perhaps you were there. Let us first go to India. Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padme Siddhi Hum. Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padme Siddhi Hum. Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padme Siddhi Hum. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. When have you been in Mother India? What was it like for you? Were you a man? Were you a woman? Were you a child? What did you do? What did you know? What did you learn? What did you look like? Stay awake. Stay awake. Recall India. Recall the temples. And stay awake. Now gently let that fade as we move to another place. And this place would be the plains of America. At a time when there were no white people there, but only Native Americans, Indians of a different type. And seek to recall the times you may have been there, when you lived completely in harmony with nature, when you prayed all the time and always were in tune with the Great Spirit. Perhaps you were Lakota. Perhaps you were Cheyenne. Perhaps you were Cherokee. Perhaps you were Shoshone. Perhaps you were Kiowa. Perhaps you were Comanche. Perhaps you were Diné. Perhaps you were Apache. Perhaps you were Seminole. Perhaps you were Mohican. Perhaps you were Nez Perce. Perhaps you were Ojibwe. Perhaps you were Hopi. You have all been of the Native American peoples. Recall it if you would, and let the memory flood in on your consciousness. You have been these things. Stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. Please. Now gently let that go and seek to recall a life in which you spoke Español, Spanish. Many countries speak Spanish and have for a long time. Could have been in any one of them at various points in history. Pero si yo les hablo a ustedes en español, entonces recordarán cuando eran españoles, o quizás mexicanos, o quizás peruanos, o quizás chilenos, o quizás argentinos, o quizás gitanos de España. Lo español lo tienen en su memoria. Traten de acordarse. Cada uno de ustedes puede hablar español perfectamente. Cada uno de ustedes han platicado, han cantado y se han expresado en español, la lengua castellana. Recuérdense, remember when you spoke Spanish in whatever country, in whatever time frame, you all have spoken Spanish.